The EU says it is imposing new severe sanctions on Russia, targeting its financial, energy and transport sectors. As Russia's invasion enters its second day, Ukraine says 137 of its citizens have been killed. Leaving their lives behind, the UN says around 100,000 Ukrainians have fled the country and urges its neighbours to keep borders open. Russians take to the streets of more than 50 cities to protest their government's move. A police crackdown sees almost 2,000 arrests.
Explosions over Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, as the country fights for its future against a Russian offensive by land, sea and air.
A Ukrainian official says a Russian aircraft has been shot down over the city, crashing onto a residential street.
Crowds spend the night in subway stations with their children, fearing more missile strikes, as others see their homes destroyed and lives ruined.
European Union announces what it calls massive new sanctions on Russia as world leaders come together to condemn Putin.
And people around the world take to the streets to protest Russia's actions.
Good morning. The financial impact of the crisis starts to become clear. Stock markets tumble, gas prices surge and petrol soars to a record high. And there are fears this could all make the cost of living crisis worse.
Things are obviously very fluid all over the country. Things are changing very rapidly. But let's just have a quick look at how the last 24 hours have gone. We've got a map here which gives you a little bit of a sense, really, about how widespread the fighting, the airstrikes have been. You can see here each of those red squares there. That is one of the different cities that has been struck yesterday morning when the Russians launched their attack. You can see there Kyiv, the Ukrainian capital, Kharkiv, which is near Russia. They're the biggest city in eastern Ukraine, all the way down to Odessa at the Black Sea. So once those attacks began yesterday morning, that was when people realized that this wasn't going to be a conflict localized to eastern Ukraine. You can see that hashed area there. That's the so-called separatist republics in eastern Ukraine that have effectively been controlled by Russia for the last 8 years or so. So once those strikes took place, we realized that this was much bigger than anything we'd seen before. Then yesterday, Russia gave the instructions to send its tanks in. You may remember that there was a massive build-up to the north, to the east and to the west. And so we saw tanks rolling in from Crimea. Russia, of course, seized Crimea from Ukraine back in 2014. There has been a significant progress being made in this area towards the town of Kherson. Up there from Russia in the north, there's been a movement south with tanks towards Kharkiv, towards Sumy, and perhaps most interesting of all, from Belarus. Now, Belarus is a separate country, of course, but there are Russian troops stationed there. And yesterday, a significant number of Russian troops moved south from Belarus, crossing into Chernobyl. That's the site, of course, of the nuclear accident in 1986. Russians, we believe, now control Chernobyl. And we've marked out Hostomel, which is an air base not far from Kiev. Now, the reason that we've done that is because possibly the most significant battle of yesterday took place there. The Russians, they flew in helicopters. You can see them there with troops on board. They landed, they put the troops down. It looked like they were going to try and seize that airstrip with a view to quickly deploying more troops on the ground, possibly with the idea of making a lightning strike, trying to seize Kiev, decapitating the regime, putting perhaps a pro-Russian government in place, saving themselves the necessity to go city by city, as we're seeing now, and try and capture them. What happened, certainly from the Ukrainian side, is they're saying that there was a fight back. It appears that the airstrip is now back at least partially under Ukrainian control, and so the Russians have not been able to use it. But we believe that some of the Russians who went into that airstrip may be part of this convoy that now the Defense Ministry of Ukraine is warning about moving towards Kiev itself. So a very changing picture by the hour, if you like, across Ukraine. The real sense is that this is not going to be a quick conflict. If Vladimir Putin, when he started this yesterday, thought that the Ukrainians would simply roll over and that it would be a hasty, quick victory for the Russians, well, I think we've seen now that though the Ukrainians are to a significant extent, really outmanned, out-equipped by the much stronger Russian military, they are not going to simply desert their post. They are fighting back where they can, and I think the scene is set in many ways for a prolonged struggle, certainly around some of these bigger cities.